Hey there, LinkedIn. Welcome back. You've been following along for a couple of my videos now. If you haven't, I'll link the rest of them down in the comments below. But we're on the final and fifth stage of my MSP sales process. Thanks, number one, for hanging out this long and watching all of this. But I'd like to show you today how we get to the proposal presentation, and more so how we get through the proposal presentation without our customer leaving us hanging. Nobody likes to get ghosted after we drop off that proposal. So let's talk about how we can solve for the proposal side of the sales process without you getting stuck. Number one, our goal here is to be able to present to our client the risk that their technology serves today or holds today, and a remediation plan for that, an actionable plan that we might be able to solve for what the customer's up against. Our defined next step, and every step in your sales process has to have a defined next step. Our defined next step is either we close and you do business with me, or we walk away with a defined next step, when we're going to meet again, when we're going to circle back, so that I don't get stuck in chase mode. So far, we've had our right fit call. We've made sure that this is somebody we want to do business with. They're the right size for our business. They have a budget. They're not a total jackass. They're somebody who we'd like to cash their check from and talk to them on the phone from time to time to help them with their technology. We've done a stakeholder interview. We've talked to the important folks in the organization and probably a good chunk of the organization to determine where their technology is meeting their needs and where it's failing them. We've sent an engineer out. We've done some data collection. We ran our scans. We poked through the server room, made sure we could see what was in the building, and pulled out the service tag on the little Dell server and looked it up to see how old it is. We've collected a lot of data. And lastly, we've confirmed our findings. We called the customer back and we said, hey, you know what? When we scanned your network, we found this, and that lines up with this pain that you told me about. So everything you're telling me, not only can I verify it, but in my experience, these are problems that a company like mine can solve. Now we're on to that final call. So at this point, we should know a ton about our prospect. We know what hurts. We know what that emotional thing is that our prospect is going through, that they would spend $1 to make it go away. And that's really important. If we don't know something that is emotional to them, something, because that's what people buy on, if we don't know that thing that's going to make the pain that they're going to spend $1 to make go away, we probably shouldn't be delivering a proposal. We should know their budget. We should know exactly how many dollars they're able to spend. Earlier on, you heard me talk about bracketing. Mr. Prospect, if I came back to you between $3,000 and $4,000 a month, could we do business together, or would you throw me out of here on my ass? We can have that conversation. We can have it early. We can have it often. Remind the customer of what that budget is. But we're going into this close with that information, and we're going to use it again. We should know their decision-making process. We know who's involved. Is there a board that needs to sign off on the decision? Is Jim in engineering the smartest technical guy in the building, and they're going to really want his input? Is somebody's nephew's cousin working for Google the only person who they think can check the checkbox and say, yep, I bless this organization and they can do the work? If there's somebody out there who could get in front of this and cause you a problem, they need to be in the room so you can present to them, explain to them, answer their questions, and make them okay with all of this. So when we get in front of the customer, we're going to remind them of the pain and the risk that's attached to that pain. So, if they're talking to you about, having to go into the office at night to, in order to do certain amounts of work because they don't have remote access, well, that's a risk to them because we're in a tight and competitive labor market. If people are having to go back to work late at night, or, after they put their kids to bed to get everything done, if they're having to work long hours in the office because they don't have remote access, that actually creates a risk to the business. And we want to talk about that. It's a tight labor market. You'd hate to lose somebody because we're just not doing a good job giving them that work from anywhere experience that's kind of expected today. And you can tie some of that risk to any pain that customer brings up to you. You guys understand technology really well. You'll be able to put that piece together. Remind the customer of the budget. Mr. Customer, we've talked about a lot of the things that hurt. The good news is they think I've got a plan that can solve for all of this. And the better news is, when we talked budget, you told me there's no way you could be at that $4,000 number I gave you. You said if we were closer to $3,000, we'd probably be able to do some business together. The great news is we're way closer to $4,000 than $3,000. I think we're going to be able to solve for all of the problems that you brought up in our conversations for about $3,300 a month. So congratulations. Everything that you have that's bothering you, we can tackle and we can take care of that for you. Lastly, don't have the meeting if you can't get everybody in the room, right? This decision-making process, them going and explaining it to the board themselves, that's setting you up for failure. So get everyone in the room. Your time has value. Don't let them convince you that you have to come sales pitch to them. They'll carry the stuff to the next person. You can just hang out on the sidelines and wait. It's a number one way that MSPs get ghosted in their sales process. It's how you get somebody to walk away, not give you a defined next step and tell you when they'll be able to come back to you and make a decision. And then we want to make sure that as we close this up, we have a way to ask for the prospect's business without sounding slimy. So the way that I typically do this, I'd make my presentation. I explain to them how we're going to solve for their pain, how we're going to address the risk. We talk about the budget. And as I wrap up the budget conversation, I'm telling them, hey, we agreed that if we were between $3,000 and $4,000, probably closer to that $3,000, we could probably do some business together. The good news is I've solved for all of those problems that you brought up. We're doing that within the budget that we discussed. So is there a reason that we can't do business together today? Or do I need to go stand in the hallway while you guys talk about me behind my back? Right. And if you don't feel like you can say that, then come up with another answer, another way to say it. You know, do we need to schedule a follow-up so that I know exactly when to call you in order to schedule, in order to learn whether or not we can do business together? What's the worst thing somebody's going to tell me if I ask them, hey, can we do business together? Or do I need to stand in the hallway while you guys talk about me and decide? What's the worst thing they're going to tell me? One, go stand in the hallway. Two, we're not going to make a decision today. When they do that, when they say, hey, we're not going to make a decision today, then I get to tell them, okay, I get it. This is an important decision and you guys want to talk about it. It would be disrespectful for you for me to walk out of this meeting and not schedule the next call. Because if I do that, then I'm going to have to call you 10 times. I'm going to harass you. You're not going to like me. I'm not going to enjoy making those phone calls. So that we both like each other after this experience, why don't we just agree that on a day that we decide right now, I'm going to call you and you're going to answer and we're going to have a conversation and we're going to talk through this. It's a really easy way to not get ghosted as you're making that final sales presentation to your customer. And guess what? They understand. Number one, they do sales in their own business. And number two, they've been chased by a salesperson who they didn't want to be chased by. They've had to duck that person. They would rather give you a no to your face at a scheduled point in time than get locked into that chase cycle, especially if you promise them that you're willing to pick up the phone and call them 10 times to get their business. So the last part of this boils down to make it your own. If you can't say what I say, that's fine. That's okay. This is designed to be your sales process. You're not going to take exactly what I've built and flip it over and use it yourself. This is designed to give you a little bit of a framework that you can pick apart and go back and reference every time you have a sales call. If you win a sales call, go back and look at your framework and decide which pieces of it worked, which pieces of it worked the best. These are the things we're going to want to do over and over again every time. Go back and find the things that might have been uncomfortable, because even when we win, even when we close a good piece of business, there's probably something we could do better or different. And the important thing about an MSP sales process is that we not only have one, but that every single time we close a piece of business, we go back and look at that sales process and improve it a little bit every time. The goal of your MSP sales process isn't to become a sales master overnight. It goes back to the old Sandler quote, nobody can learn to ride a bike at a workshop. What we can do is build a framework that lets us be 1% better every single time. So I hope you've learned a little bit listening here. I'd love to share this, what I've learned through my sales experience with the whole world. So if you have questions, comments, anything like that, throw them down below or direct message me. I'm happy to engage in a conversation. Thank you.